Welcome to episode number 12 of Wrestling with the Mind, a podcast where we raise awareness around mental health. My name is Matt Sigmund, health coach by day, pro wrestler by night. I hope that you all are having a wonderful week so far. And today I'm excited to bring to you a chat I had with Kyle Davis from NWA. Kyle has been a friend of mine for 15 plus years in this wild and crazy business, and he has a wonderful perspective around mental health and a good story to share, and I'm excited to share that with you today. Before we dive into the chat today, I thought it could be helpful to share another tip of the week for you guys today, and today I wanted to focus a minute on practicing gratitude. Taking time to reflect on things that you're thankful for can have that positive impact on your mental well-being. This could be as simple as writing down 3 things that you're grateful for each day, or taking a few moments to appreciate the good things in your life. Studies have shown that regularly practicing gratitude can lead to improvements in mood, optimism, and overall life satisfaction. So I encourage you all to stop for a minute at some point today and give this a try and see how it works for you. Now, if you are ready, we will do a guided meditation before we jump into the chat. If this is not your thing or something you don't want to participate in, that's totally okay. You can skip ahead about a minute or so and go right into the chat. But if you would like to participate, you can start by finding a comfortable seated position, either in a chair or on the floor with your legs crossed. Rest your hands gently on your lap or by your sides, and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely, and then exhale slowly through your mouth, letting go of any tension or stress. Repeat this deep breathing for a few more cycles, focusing on the sensation of the air moving in and out of your body. Now bring your attention to your thoughts. Notice any thoughts that come to mind without judging or analyzing them. Simply observe them as if they are clouds passing by in the sky. As you continue to observe your thoughts, imagine a clear blue sky above you. Visualize the thoughts as clouds passing by, drifting across the sky, but not affecting the clarity of the blue sky. As you watch the clouds, notice how they come and go, sometimes slowly and sometimes quickly. But always remember that the blue sky remains constant, calm, and clear. Allow yourself to stay in this space for a few moments, simply observing the clouds and the clear blue sky. Let go of any attachment to your thoughts or worries and focus on the peace and clarity of the sky. When you are ready, slowly begin to bring your awareness back to your physical body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Take a few more deep breaths. Open your eyes, feeling refreshed, relaxed, and centered. Remember that like the clear blue sky, you can find peace and calm even in the midst of busy thoughts and distractions. Now let's jump into our chat with Kyle Davis. Hey Kyle, my friend, how are you today?
I am trying to get through my day, and it is a struggle at times, and today is a struggle.
You know, and of course, we pick the day where there's time crunches and a struggle to fit in some podcast time. So, number one, I thank you for carving out a little bit of time here just to chat about mental health and things, even when you're having a challenging day.
No, I think that's at the end of the day. I think I'm just going to say it right here. I suffer from intense anxiety and everything else. And I probably have an undiagnosed like ADHD thing that leads to depression or anything like that. Who knows? My
Right.
therapist could tell you. But here's the thing: like, there's never a good time. There's always going to be something going on. And I think one of the most important things to do is to not let that stop you, because it's 1 foot forward, left, right, and that's how you move forward. Because otherwise, if you just say, well, I can't do this right now, or there's something else, or this, that, you get stuck in this thing where you're just sitting there wallowing in your own day, and it's not the best, most healthiest thing ever. So,
Right. Well, and you show wonderful strength just pushing forward and just keep grinding. I appreciate it. I respect it so much. And, for those who are tuning in and wanting to check this out, of course, Kyle is known to the wrestling world, being pretty much the focal point here of most NWA programming online and abroad, being the voice, I guess you would say. And, for those who don't really watch wrestling, Kyle, or not up to speed on things and just trying to check out the podcasts for mental health reasons and whatnot, how would you introduce yourself to the non-wrestling community?
I am a broadcaster, ring announcer, and interviewer and voiceover person. So if you're watching the program I'm a part of, the National Wrestling Alliance, we have NWA Power, NWA USA, or one of the pay-per-views, you are possibly hearing or seeing me telling you all about upcoming events or talking to one of the athletes that is a part of our brand. It's kind of like the glue that ties things together. Think of somebody on Sports Center. I guess that's the way I describe it, where you'd be like, hey, that guy has a suit and he asks questions with a microphone.
You're the narrator to a beautiful story.
I'm going to steal that. That was fantastic. I love it.
You're welcome. I charge by the hour too. So.
Ooh, yeah. Yes. Well, I'm past, definitely past my last session. I'll tell you that much. I recently got back to Florida, kind of restarting life over. The career is the one thing that hasn't reset, and I'm thankful for that, because legitimately, if you ever find yourself going through a lot of transition and trying to refine your life after, kind of just losing a relationship and just starting from scratch, not having a career that allows you to travel remotely and be places is a godsend, because you can, wherever you need to go to survive, that's where you can be and still have work, which pays your bills, which takes one last thing off your plate.
Right. And the wrestling business, through the highs and lows and the good and the bad, there is that one piece of the puzzle that it's always there. You can travel, you can go, and you're still a part of it. You're still in that world. And I've known you, I guess, what year did we meet, Kyle? It was 2006, 7, it was, give or take.
Yeah, it was around, was it HDNet era or was it for Ring of Honor?
Yeah.
It was definitely, it was those 06, 07, or 08. It was something around there. I broke in at 06, so.
Okay, so yeah, it was around there, and so it's been quite, and now here we are in 2023. It's been cool. We're getting old, Kyle.
No, we had a housewarming. Got a place with a bunch of my friends from a long time ago, and we renting a house right now. So we had a housewarming party with our old friends, and they're all 40, sitting around a table, just having conversations about life. And I always have these moments where I look around, I'm like, I don't feel like we're that old.
That's true.
And then you think like, oh, when I was younger and my parents were there, like, is this what they were doing sitting around the table being like, I don't feel old, but I am. This doesn't make any sense.
And
it's time travel.
I give him a hard time, but anytime that I'm feeling old, and there are plenty of days here lately where that is the case, I sit and think to myself, as old as I may be and as old as I may feel, Tim Storm has an entire career worth on top of that age of mine. So he is.
And Tim Storm, whenever I get worried and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't tan so much, skin cancer. Tim Storm, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know this, is the most tan human being alive. He's part of our broadcast team. He's a former professional wrestler, former NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. But that man, light absorbs that he's near. He's that dark.
So true.
And it's just, he's an educator. And I'm always concerned that he's so tan that the kids might accidentally think he's the blackboard.
Do you think that he scares the children when he walks in the room?
No, he's got the biggest smile and the whitest teeth. He
does.
Feels like a Florida politician, and he doesn't even live there. This is how PC can we get on this podcast?
You can take it wherever you want.
Okay, so we were doing a taping one day, and they were like, Tim, can you move over? The light's not quite where it needs to be. And somehow it segued to, geez, if you think he's this dark, imagine what his looks like. It would absorb all light in the arena. Anyway, and this is the dumb things that you think of when you struggle with happiness and mental health, is literally the most ridiculous thing is the thing that might be like, that's my saving grace. That's my flotation device in a sea of I don't know what's happening.
So you, so you've been around the wrestling world for a long time, as we were saying, and
Yeah.
like I said, the good and the bad. What or how do you feel that that has impacted your mental health over the years?
I broke into professional wrestling, and I'm a big advocate of, I think most people that get into entertainment are because they're fundamentally missing something or want to be something that they're not. I was missing something. I felt like I needed complete strangers to care about my existence, which is not healthy. I was a fat kid growing up. It messed with my self esteem. I fell in love with a girl when I was young, and it never came of anything. And she broke my heart, and it destroyed me. And it really just weighed on me and affected my self esteem as time went on. And the funny thing is like I got along with everybody. I was popular, and so it was one of those things where it was definitely me being a broken human being because there was people that backed me up to be like, no, you're great, you're entertaining, you're this. But even when I became a pretty boy, I still thought, well, nobody likes me for who I am. It's this. And so I broke into professional wrestling because I felt like it was my way of becoming somebody else. It's soap operas for men, it's ballet with chairs. And if you're an actor, you play a part and you play different parts and you're constantly being somebody else. But a professional wrestler, much like a soap opera actor, you basically pick a role and you become that person. And if a fan base, they look at you as that individual. So if you could be the coolest person in the room, de facto, you could be the coolest person in the room in real life. And that was my crazy thing of getting involved in it. And I was never the most athletic. I'm like 5'8.5" now with spinal trauma, so I'm shorter than I ever was. I'm bald now, but at the time I was super pretty. I got in shape, I got the tattoos, I reinvented myself. And all I wanted to be was a professional wrestler, and I wanted people to like me for just basically how I was and what I looked like.
Right.
And then I remember one day, Adam Pierce, who was basically the authority figure on SmackDown now, he comes to me and he goes, listen, Kyle, you're the shits as a wrestler. And I was devastated. And he goes, hold on, but you could talk, which a lot of people can't do. And he goes, so why are you trying to do something that everybody else is going to have an advantage over you when you have an advantage over everybody else doing something else? You should be a broadcaster. And having somebody tell you that the thing that you thought was going to reinvent you and make you worthwhile to yourself, you just aren't going to be able to do because you're probably not good enough, just broke me. But the truth is he was actually telling me, you have so many strengths that you don't even know about. Why aren't you doing those things? You'll be unstoppable. And he was right, because years later, this is what I do for a living. I'm a broadcaster and I help run a professional wrestling company and all that
Right.
jazz.
Yeah.
He was absolutely right. I was an idiot. To this day, I'm still an idiot, but at least I can admit it.
Well, and Adam's one of those guys too. He's so filled with just wonderful knowledge, and he's very giving as well. And oftentimes when we have those people in our lives that tell us this advice and things, we don't take it in. We don't really take it at face value for what it truly is worth, and it can take time to adapt and learn that. You better go southwest.
I'm so sorry. I know. I just turned that down. Oh, no, it's still doing it. Oh, no, I don't know how to turn that down. All right, well, I'm just going to exit out of this. I'm so sorry, guys. Hey, don't drive and podcast. The directions will tell you where to go. All right, if only the voices in my head would tell me things like that. Okay. I'm joking. There are no voices in the head. I'm not that bad.
Over time, I feel, and I've talked to others about this, the focus in the business on just overall well-being and health in general and mental health, I feel has gotten better. And I think we've gotten kind of on an upswing in terms of the guys and girls to taking better care of themselves. Have you seen that shift as well? Do you feel the same in that regard?
Very much so. And I was lucky enough to break in at a point in time where our profession was transitioning over from trying to be the biggest, the baddest, the most, oh, look at me, I'm this person, to more of like, listen, this is a struggle. We're all trying to get through the day. Let's not kill ourselves by drinking and doing drugs. Most people were like, what's a good escape? Video games. It's just like one of those things where everybody was finding that we are in a strenuous thing that's emotionally destructive and physically destructive, and you have to take care of yourself because there's only so many days of your life that you can do something if you're constantly pushing and driving and making it harder. And it's weird because we are in entertainment, but it's also super competitive. And I know what some people that don't know wrestling would be like, well, if it's entertainment, how could it be competitive? You want to look the best, perform the best, be the best, sell the most shirts, have people cheer you the most, hate you the most. You want to be this. And win, lose, or draw, whether it's predetermined or not, you are still competing against other people that look not human. And at the end of the day, we're supposed to be real life superheroes and all these other things. And it's really hard sometimes if you aren't 6'3" and 300 pounds of muscle and chiseled with abs and a perfect jawline to live up to that. Like, I'm going to stand out from just a normal human being thing. And it
Right.
weighs on you. It's just like I'm now dating, which is super weird. I'm a 40-year-old man and I don't look horrible, but I definitely don't look like, a Tom Latimer who's got a great accent and he's tan and he's 6 foot something with just muscle and chisel. He's like, oh, mate, yeah, it's just this is the sweetest human being alive.
He
But
is. He
you know,
is.
the truth is that I'm surrounded by unobtainable goals of people. Like, and it's the weirdest thing. I surround myself with people that I will never be able to look like or compare myself to. And if you are still in the mindset where you are not good enough, it's really hard. It's you hear women talk about like growing up models were a thing that like women really related to. I want to look that way. I want to walk that way. I want to dress that way. I want to be that way. We're in a physical business that, as men go, we do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I looked like him. I wish I had that. Let me do this. Let me do that. And it's, I have no shame in saying, like, you know, you get really insecure. You develop trauma and you try to make the best of it. And the thing that you forget every now and then is no matter how good somebody looks, no matter how amazing they are, no matter how rich they are, no matter how successful they are, that stuff goes through their head too. And we all just act like it's not there. If you don't talk about it, it's really easy to think that you're trapped in yourself and that you're the only one going through something. But the more you talk about it, the more you go into like that person, like I look at The Rock. I'm like, you look at The Rock and you're like, man, look at him. And then I remember that guy has been physically genetics. A, his family is athletes. B, he's been working at since 15 years old. I didn't start working until I was in my mid 20s. I never put in 7 a day effort, counted my calories, did this, got a personal trainer, went there, maybe took some supplements that were good or bad. You forget that that stuff doesn't happen overnight. And as long as you're doing what you need to be happy, it doesn't matter that somebody else might have an advantage over you on something or an unrealistic aspect that you're never going to be able to put the time, hours, or just, the cards in your hand that you'll ever be able to do that.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. And
it's
priorities,
just, it's
come
so
into
weird.
play
And
too.
to get back to it, the business has gotten better because we talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
You're talking about the competition side of things. And in terms of competition, a lot of people don't really look at it from the outside in and see all the moving pieces. But at any given time in the United States alone, there's 3,000 or more wrestlers fighting for very limited spots. And so it can be cutthroat. It can be very challenging to navigate some of those waters and find a good balance and keep mentally healthy in general.
it's so much, and I think it's that way in almost any career. Like some people are naturally great at something and
Right.
others, they have to put the effort in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to try to even be a fraction of as good as somebody else that somebody's just a natural at. And just because we're entertainers doesn't mean that, like, when I see people be able to jump to the top rope with no effort, I'm like, man, that's an athlete. When you can pick 400 pounds over your head like it's nothing, that's an athlete. These are all things I'll never be able to do. But then again, they might not be able to put three words together in an act where you put them in front of a microphone and say, hey, just make sure people understand what this pay-per-view is. I think the most important thing in life, be it in professional wrestling or just life in general, is realizing that there is something about you that you get to shine at and to own it and be that and be okay with not being everybody else.
Right.
That's
Oh
the
man, that's a
healthiest thing
powerful look.
ever.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso is, And when you watch it, this is fun loving and all this stuff. But watching it back now with my friends for like the fourth time, I'm realizing from the very get go, he is having panic attacks, disorders, and everything else, and anxiety right from the get go. There was something in a very early episode of it where they asked one of the star players on the team. They're having a conversation. Would you rather be a lion or a sheep? And he walks by and he's like, Jamie, would you rather be a lion or a sheep? He goes, I'm Jamie Todd. Why would I want to be anything but that? And he goes, I don't think you realize how healthy that actually is.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's amazing. I could never imagine being like, you know what? I'm happy I'm Kyle Davis.
Right.
That's all I could ever strive for. Man, if I ever get to that point, I can't even imagine. When I see people doing dumb things because they're confident, I don't go like, well, that person's stupid. I go, man, to have that confidence. Imagine thinking you're not going to fail or that this could turn out any way but horribly. That, chef's kiss. I wish I had that.
And most people do not have that mindset of being who they are and taking that true form. When it comes to your health and your mental health, what are some of the ways that you implement self-care into your routine?
Unfortunately, it's a lot of this. It's a lot of just talking about it and just venting. And I'm very self-deprecating, and I'm realizing it's really bad because I have women constantly telling me I shouldn't be on myself anymore, and it's very unattractive and all this. But I think it's funny. I do it in a humorous way. I also have discovered in the last several years edibles, and I used to be very straight edge and very much this and the other thing, but I had high anxiety when I was running restaurants in the Atlanta area. And I had a coworker basically be like, hey, man, old hippie. Hey, man, you need a cookie. And I had a little piece of a cookie and, it was just enough. And it put that voice in the back of my head that was just like, you can't do this or everything's going to turn out horribly wrong or you're a failure or why isn't this? And again, nobody's ever put that on me. And, even in my past relationship, there is a possibility sometimes when things were said that I heard it that way and maybe it wasn't meant to be that way. But the good thing about the edibles for me, and it's not this way for anybody, is it's just enough to quiet that discontent in me and make me feel like the world's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, the only guarantee we have in life is that none of us are getting out of this alive. Be it today, tomorrow, the next day. The future's not guaranteed. There's no promises. I have a far better life than almost 95% of the world. And I'm still complaining and I'm still sad. And I constantly remind myself how stupid that is. And that's how I know I'm not healthy, is because I should be aware of how good things are. And I always have to remind myself, Kyle, if you can't make yourself healthy, then maybe your legacy should be if you can affect 4 or 5 people, even if it's just that in a positive manner while I'm here, then I've done something for the greater good and it's all been worth it.
Yeah,
that's the thing that gets me through it.
That is a powerful way to look at life in general. And you are very, or it sounds like you're very self-aware of some of the struggles and the challenges you go through and how they do impact you from day to day. But just that mindset and looking at it as trying to help others, even if it's just 1 or 2 people. And that's my life is revolved around pro wrestling. I'm constantly traveling doing that, but I feel so connected to try to help others with mental health because I've seen how it impacts so many people, fans, peers, friends in this business, that it kind of lit that fire under me. And that's why I wanted to do the podcast, was just to raise awareness on some of these challenges and let people know they're not alone in this struggle that we all go through, these various battles internally every day. And it looks a little bit different for every single person, but we all have these challenges that we face and we're not alone in that battle.
I've never had any real addictions or anything like that, but I could definitely see how when somebody's trying to get clean and people are like, oh, you did it, it's great. And they're like, no, it's going to be a constant battle every day for the rest of my life. I think one of the things that's important for people is to have realistic expectations. And there's days where I just literally will break down in tears for absolutely no reason. And my my friends have to deal with me because I'll talk about it constantly instead of hiding it, because it would just be worse if I pretended like everything was great.
Right.
Um, but it's one of those things where it's like part of the thing that makes it tolerable is to be like, you know what? This is part of what makes me me.
Hmm.
And I am going to cope and deal with this. And every day I'm going to try to be a little bit better. And there's going to be backsliding in this. But, it's mental health is something you can't escape. You could run away from every other problem and every other person in the world, but no matter what, you are there with you. You're stuck with you. So if there's one thing that you could fix, and I think Joe Galley, my business associate, told me this one time. He goes, "Hey, if you're in a plane that's going down and you don't put the oxygen mask on yourself first, how are you going to help anybody else?"
Yep. So true.
And it's super true. And I inversely, I can have like rainbows and lollipops and have a great time. Don't get me wrong, but right now with life transitioning, it's been tough, and even work, which is the thing that's basically allowing me to survive. The pressure on that and everything. You want to make people happy. You want to live up to expectations and this, that, and the other thing. At the end of the day, you kind of sometimes just have to sit back and be like, am I disappointing only me and nobody else is disappointed? Well, I guess then I'm a success. I just got to remind myself I'm a success. Like I'll walk by a wrestling magazine at the Stop and Shop or a Publix or anything wherever I am in the country. I'll pick it up and I'll thumb through it. Things I used to do as a kid, and I'll see a picture of me interviewing somebody in there. I'm like, oh my God, that's right. I exist in a
Hmm.
way I never thought I would.
Right.
I have become and obtained something that I always dreamed of. I never thought I'd make a living in the professional wrestling industry. And now at 40, after being in the business since 2006, I am finally doing it. And I think that's also important, guys, is that keep on moving forward, because you never know when the thing that you always dreamed could happen could happen. I had a little sticky note that got put on my desk by my ex one day, and I think she got it offline, but she just wrote it on there, and she's like, just remember, you 5 years ago would be amazed where you are today.
Oh man, when I was on, I guess it might have been our first or second loop in Japan, and we went to Ribera.
So cool, by the way. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Sponsors took us to Ribera, and they gave us the jackets. And I'm standing there taking a picture, and then it just like hit me like a train. I'm like, 10-year-old me would think I was the biggest damn liar in the world if I ever said I was going to be in this position, just to have that moment. Because, I grew up as a kid like you, flipping through the magazines. I'd see the Ribera stuff, the pictures of,
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Benoit and Guerrero and Malenko and everybody.
It's a famous Japanese steakhouse, by the way.
Yeah.
For
And
anybody
so
that doesn't know what that we're talking about.
just that
Oh,
moment when it hit me, and then I sat in the car after, headed back to the hotel there in Tokyo, and I was numb, man. It was like, what is life? This is wild. I can't complain another day of my life because I've got to live some really cool moments. But yeah, that was one for me. Those people that are listening, a lot of them are going through challenging times, like you, maybe a transition and facing some inner demons, inner challenges. What would you tell people in terms of advice for those who are really struggling right now?
there's no shame in going and talking to somebody, because if you think it's weighing on you, it really is. But inversely, like, even if you're going to have a hard time talking to a stranger for it, people that know you sometimes, like, they're a safe place. But if you have some heavy stuff on you, it could weigh on the people around you. And if you want to feel better and you want to be better, there's nothing wrong with going and talking to somebody about it. That's what these people went to school for. That's what it is. And I used to be involved with somebody in high school, and she was on medicine and medicated. And I remember always being afraid of that. Like, oh man, I don't know. But, pharmaceuticals and just talk therapy and everything else, and meditation and just finding your happiness, even if it's a scoop of ice cream every other day, there's all sorts of ways to help you get to where you need to be, because sometimes it's not your fault. sometimes we're just chemically built in a way that's just isn't what it should be. And all it takes is just tweaking a little something that we might not even be aware of that could just correct that. I had a foot pain for years and a bunion, a bone spur on the side of my thing. And I put it off and I was just like, it's uncomfortable. It's this, that. Finally got surgery on it. They're like, it's going to feel horrible for a few days. I remember coming out of surgery and not feeling the throbbing that I had felt for the last 5 years. And I remember thinking, why didn't I just do this years ago? Mental health is the same thing. We all are really good at surviving and coping and just getting through, maybe not for the best in the way we try to make it happen, when all it takes is just doing that one thing that maybe we're like, I don't want to go talk to somebody. It could make you realize that you're dealing with pain that you don't have to have, that there's this alleviation of like, oh my God, this is what it's like to not feel that way. Because there's going to be a tomorrow for almost every one of us. And you got to make the most of that tomorrow. And if that's making yourself happy, the people around you happy, or anything like that, find your happiness. And as long as you're not hurting anybody, again, like it's a coping mechanism right now, but I've been buying Marvel Legends action figures because, damn it, do they make me happy. They're on my shelf in my office.
Yeah,
I'm finding like that's the thing that brings me joy right now. And damn it, is it helping my mental health.
We're not on video, but my office here, I mean, it's surrounded by like Star Wars collectibles, Batman stuff, cornets racket on the wall, just every little thing that makes me happy keeps me around. And I'm a little bit of the same way, And then for me, Marvel, it's the Marvel Snap app. I'm just constantly throwing money at it.
Oh, I believe that's what Judas, the priest of punishment, is constantly playing when I'm out to dinner with him during shows.
Yeah, it's quick and easy and fun. Where can we find you? Plug yourself a little bit.
Well, I am always leaky, so it's good that I'm plugging myself. It is Kyle Davis ATL on Twitter and Instagram. I don't live in Atlanta anymore. Guys, don't pick social media tags for the place you live. You may move at some point in time. The National Wrestling Alliance at nationalwrestlingalliance.com for all tickets and upcoming dates and everything like that. Otherwise, you can find NWA Power, the program that I do quite a bit on with Joe Galley and the rest of the NWA team on Tuesdays, 6:05 on YouTube on the NWA channel. I also host 33, which is a podcast promoting the latest Smashing Pumpkins album, because I also do stuff with William Patrick Corgan and the Smashing Pumpkins, which is super weird to me to say that, but that's also part of the life I have right now. New Autumn's coming out April 21st, the new Smashing Pumpkins album. Do that, like, subscribe, do all the stuff you're going to do, guys. But really, most importantly, here's my plug. Find the thing that makes you happy that doesn't hurt the world around you. Get zen, get balanced, do the best you can. And when you're having a rough day, don't beat yourself up about it. Life's hard. We're all lucky to be here. Life is crazy, precious, and just make a moment here and there and just be like, wow, I get to have something that maybe other people don't get to enjoy.
And I thank you for, like I said, carving out some of your time out of today. It's much appreciated. I know you're a busy man, and so enjoy having you on, and hope to have you again on here soon. And be safe out there, my brother. I want to thank Kyle for blocking off a little bit of time in his crazy, hectic schedule just to sit and chat with us for a little bit on his mental health journey. And I hope that you found some good value in that chat, as I did. I want to thank you guys, as always, for tuning in and giving us support on this show. Please go to your podcast service if you haven't done so already. Click subscribe, leave us a review. That helps us branch out and get the word out around the show. Also, visit our social media pages, which you can find all the links for over on wrestlingmind.com. Help us spread the word that way as well. Now get out and make the most of your day. Have a great week, guys.